So Twitter is fun, and I had some fun on Twitter with a little screenshot of an Amazon book that showed an OSPF design book published back in 1740. It's a typo in the metadata. I just thought it was hilarious, and a lot of people that follow me on Twitter did as well and responded. One of the responses was, "Oh, did you hear about the battle between OSPF and EIGRP? It must have been a pretty quick battle, haha." In other words, EIGRP lost that battle was the implication there. And then I jokingly responded, the battle's still raging for some folks, to which he said, "Really? Because who should be using a proprietary closed protocol like EIGRP at this point, right?" That was the sentiment of the Twitter conversation. Well, the issue is a little more complicated than that. Back in 2013 and then moving through to, I think, May 2016, you've got RFC7868. RFC7868 is Cisco's release to the world of an open EIGRP spec. So, EIGRP isn't exactly simply closed and proprietary where the only place you'll ever see it is on a Cisco router. In fact, you can get an EIGRP implementation that isn't from Cisco. I know of at least one free-range routing has got an EIGRP daemon based on RFC7868. Okay, cool. So that means the world can run a full-blown EIGRP implementation if they had reason to, right? Not exactly. RFC7868 doesn't have everything in it that you'd expect from a full-blown EIGRP stack. The big one that's missing for me are stub routers. I did a search on the RFC7868 page, and the word stub does not come up. And if you've ever worked in a large EIGRP environment, you really want stub routing on those edge routers that they don't become transits and have to participate in the query and update schemes. That really, again, helps you a lot with scoping your query domain and keeping that bounded, and improves convergence time, and you don't really have the stuck in active problem like you once did because EIGRP has kind of matured beyond that specific issue with some timer advances and such. But still, you really do want stubs to help you with scale, so it not being an RFC7868 kind of goes back to, well, okay, so is it open or is it closed and proprietary, and it's really somewhere in the middle? What Cisco gave the world was the ability to code and fire up EIGRP and run it on their devices, and therefore allow them to interact with a Cisco EIGRP network that they might need to connect to. Okay. I don't think there's been much traction on that. No vendors in my world are talking about that when I talk to them. It's not coming up as a big customer requirement. Well, why? The vast majority of networks that are running an interior gateway protocol are running OSPF, of course. ISIS for some, of course. There's IS. I love ISIS. I know. I see you there. But OSPF is the kind of default choice that most people are going to turn on. It's everywhere. It's well understood, and that daemon just exists in a multitude of ways that vendors can easily add it to their networking devices. That's the one that you're going to see, not EIGRP. Now, if you've got an EIGRP network and you're feeling sad right now, I need to go to OSPF. Well, do you? Think about it this way. If EIGRP is doing what you need it to do and you're in a fairly stable network environment, what's the compelling business reason for you to migrate to OSPF? Now, if the answer is, I got some other vendors coming in and I got some other things that are going to be happening, they're non-Cisco vendors, and so it's going to be a problem as soon as I try to integrate them into my dynamic routing scheme, then okay, yeah, maybe you've got a EIGRP to OSPF migration project ahead of you. Otherwise, take it case by case. Maybe you want to do it if you've got time and so on, because it does kind of prep you for the future. I don't see, just based on market adoption, that open EIGRP is much of a thing. Again, it exists. You could run it in FRR if you wanted to, but why? Why at this point? You got OSPF as your interior gateway routing protocol of choice for most enterprise networks, with BGP also there to service as glue between multiple network domains, or to connect you to the cloud, or in some cases even use it in the data center, because you need to do that, I guess, since BGP can now do everything. But other than that, it's that's your game. BGP, OSPF, and probably not EIGRP so much anymore.